Okay, I'm going to start the meeting then, if that's okay. All right, so good afternoon. Welcome everybody to Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council Cabinet meeting on Wednesday, the 6th of January 2021. And first and foremost, Happy New Year to everybody at our first formal Cabinet meeting. So Happy New Year to you all. Let's hope 2021 will get us through now this awful pandemic and the vaccine coming out. So good fortune for us all, hopefully. As always, please note this meeting is recorded and may be broadcast via the authority's internet site. And of course, any images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes within the authority. So I'm going to go straight to agenda item number 1, and that is any apologies for absence, please.
There are none as far as I'm aware. I think that everybody's present.
Okay, thank you, Caris. In that case, I'll go straight to agenda item number 2, and that's declarations of interest.
Again,
just double checking.
I've not received any in advance, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Caris, again for that. Okay, I'll move on to agenda item number 3 then. That is the public spaces protection orders restricting access over 5 public highways in Merthyr Tydfil through the installation of gates, I think it is, isn't it? Oh, I think I've got an editing problem there, so I need to come back to it.
Sorry, Chair, can I come in? I should have declared an interest there. Geraint Thomas will be taking the public spaces protection order for the 5 highways. I'll declare an interest. Caris, does that mean I have to leave?
What we've been doing, Councillor Barry, is asking you to switch off your camera and your microphone so that you can't be considered to be influencing anybody. I should have remembered that you told me you were declaring an interest in that, so I apologise for that. But yeah, you remain part of the meeting, but you turn off your camera and your microphone whilst this item is being discussed, please.
Okay.
Councillor Barry, can you just confirm what your interest is for me, please?
The gates are being put onto the back of William Street, and I live in William Street.
Okay, so it's a personal interest with regards to that. Okay, so thank you for clarifying that. In that case, then, I shall go to Councillor Geraint Thomas, who's taken this report for you.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, this is the first report of the new year, and it's to consult with the residents of the area in Tyne to see whether or not they would like these gates placed there to stop any antisocial behaviour. So if I go straight to the recommendations in 2.1, to the undertaking of formal public consultation on the proposal to introduce PSPO gating orders with consultation commencing on the 17th of January 2021 be approved. I so move, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor.
2.2, sorry, a further report following completion of the statutory public consultation, which considers any representations received and, if appropriate, seeking approval of the public spaces protection order be produced and placed before Cabinet. I so move, Chair.
So thank you, Councillor Thomas. You've caught me on the hop then, recommending and approving them individually, but it's not a problem. Thank you for that. Colleagues, who is seconding this report?
That's me, Councillor Mitten, and I'm happy to second the recommendations put forward by Councillor Thomas.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Davis. In that case, then, colleagues, I'll just...
Sorry, can I just interrupt you at the moment, because Simon Jones has had his hand up, and I realise now that there is something he just wanted to say, which is by way of an amendment slightly to the report. I don't think it will make any difference to the recommendations, but perhaps you could just hear from Simon about that first.
Of course, Simon, it was remiss of me. You're down there on the bottom of my screen and I can now see your hand. So many apologies. Come on in and let us know what you want to say.
Thank you, Chair. I had a message this morning from the South Wales Police to say that they wanted a slight amendment to the lanes that they are looking to gate. It doesn't affect the recommendations at all. We're still looking to gate 5 lanes, and we're still looking to put it out to consultation today. So that doesn't change at all. However, there does need to be an amendment now to the report. And if I can take you to the first page, which is page 5 of this report. The first amendment is at 1.1, and it's the very first dot there you can see. It says lanes adjacent to residential premises at Upper Thomas Street. It is now just lane, so the S needs to come out there. We then go down to page 8, if I can take you to page 8. And here we are. There's a list then of all the lanes. And again, at 5.3, it says lanes adjacent. It needs to be lane again. I'll explain the reason for that. And then there's a part of that paragraph that needs to come out at the bottom. So if you go down to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 line down, it says the house adjacent to the entrances into this park from that point onwards needs to come out. The reason being, and I'll take you to the reasons, if we go down to the appendices of this report, bear with me while I scroll down on my screen. So it's quite a long report, isn't it? Hold on a sec, let's get to the end. Okay, there we are. Appendix 1, this is what we're talking about. If you look at the plan here, it's on page 17. Can you see the plan on page 17?
Yeah.
You'll see 2 blue marks on there where it was proposed to gate, okay?
Okay.
The blue mark to the left is at the end of somebody's front garden. And I looked at it at the time and I thought I couldn't see a need for a gate there. And Inspector Rudder has been there and he's happy, it doesn't need to be a gate there. So that needs to come off. That's why you're saying just the 1 lane there. The second change is if we go down to the next page, Appendix 2, and this is the lane to the side of the Brunswick. And the plan for that is at page 19. And you'll see there are 4 little blue lines which mark where the gates were proposed to be. The one at the bottom is on Church Street at the side of the Brunswick. That's okay. So we're looking to gate the back alleyway going up there, turning right to the top of Union Street. Now the 2 blue lines to the right there, Inspector Rudder has looked at it and he says he doesn't need them there. Now I looked at that at the time because what you got here, you've got a path coming down from the park and some steps. And if you gated there, you'll be taking everybody who comes down from there down this back alleyway down to the synagogue, which didn't make sense to me, and it doesn't make sense to him either. So we're not looking to gate those 2 there. So there are 2 amended plans which I've got, but apart from that, everything else is exactly the same. We're just going to consult to see whether or not we need to gate, and are the restrictions we're proposing proportionate. So those are the amendments, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Simon. Obviously, you know, listening to you and looking at them on the plan, it does make sort of good reading and common sense with regards to that. So I completely understand where they've come from. Monitoring Officer, my understanding is that we would just, if Councillor Thomas is okay with it, then we would put forward those recommendations, taking out that word lanes and just replacing it with the word lane.
Yes,
Yeah.
Chair.
Councillor Thomas, thank you, Monitoring Officer. Councillor Thomas, are you okay with that?
Yes, fine, yeah.
Okay, therefore we'll continue with that report then, and happy to second that then with those amendments, Councillor Davis?
Absolutely, Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. In that case then, with those proposed recommendations, can I ask if there are any questions on this report? Councillor Davis?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Really welcome this. I think this is a fantastic investment into, obviously, you know, community safety and cracking down on crime across the county borough in terms of a partnership approach with the council, neighbourhood policing and other partners. And I know a lot of hard work. We've had a previous report to council or cabinet on this investment that got secured by our public protection team. I just wondered, obviously I live in a ward where there's a lot of areas that have alleys and lanes on a particular estate area in Galanacha. And previously been involved in some alley gating schemes when I previously worked for Communities First programme, and there was a Home Office fund, Simon might even remember it, the alley gating funds from the Home Office. I just wondered, are there going to be any future opportunities that anybody that is aware of to access any other further funds in the future for other parts of the county borough to benefit really from what Town Ward have had the opportunity to during you know, this particular round of monies, Chair?
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Davis. Could one of our officers reply to that, or at least give us some idea if there is any room for any other areas of the borough having the same provision?
Yes, I'll answer that.
Thank you, Alan.
At this point in time, it was a one-off funding call for Comtaf Morgannwg, but obviously when we have a chance to evaluate the popularity and success of this scheme, then we'll be making further representations to the Police and Crime Commissioner.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that, Alan.
Councillor, if I can come back to Alan then with a further follow-up question. Alan, obviously, and I don't want to create work for the sake of creating work, but if we think there may be further funding, will we look now to do some spade work ready for identifying areas where across the borough where we, as members will have an opportunity to input to put forward potential schemes that, are spade ready schemes? So we can strike while the iron's hot and maybe access some further funding to add to the, community safety and resilience work within our communities.
I think that's an excellent idea, Councillor Davis. And as you've shown in the past, when you have schemes on the shelf, irrespective of the type of funding source, then obviously you'll always end up in the front of the queue. I'll have a chat with our community safety unit, and we'll think how we can progress that development work. Thank you very much. I've always got one to put forward to you in my ward, so that's great. I look forward to the engagement. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you both. Thank you, Ali. Colleagues, any other questions? If not, I'll move on to comments. Are there any comments?
I suppose just to follow on, Councillor Mitten, it would be remiss of me now, having asked questions, not to say this is a fantastic initiative, and I look forward to the opportunity for us, working with Home Office, Police and Crime Commissioner, his team, South Wales Police, with Simon, with you, and our officers in community safety to potentially identify further funding. We lost some cameras in certain parts of the borough, so anything that can add towards people feeling safe in their neighbourhood, safe where they live. We've talked about these issues in areas where motorbikes travel at speed across parts of the county borough, and anything that can look to reduce, to keep our residents and our communities and neighbourhoods safe from this kind of antisocial and inappropriate behaviour can absolutely only but be welcomed. I'm sure all the Cabinet would support and endorse that, really. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you, Chris. Okay, if there aren't any other comments, we'll go to the vote then, please. Remember how we vote virtually now. Okay, so first of all, I will ask that all those who are in support of the recommendations, if you can raise your hand. So if you're for the recommendations, if you can raise your hand, please. And I mean virtually, but you can do this as well if you want.
I can't see Councillor Barry on the screen, but
he had to declare an interest, Motion Officer.
So yes, that's carried, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. Okay, bear with me a second as I just go on to the next agenda item. We're on to agenda item 4, which is the bus emergency scheme, and I understand Councillor Geraint-Thomas are going to take us to this report.
I am, Chair. I think this is a very welcome report coming today to Cabinet. I think we've all seen the effects of the pandemic's had on the public transport provision throughout the borough and throughout Wales. The pandemic has absolutely ripped this industry apart, and the support that's coming through Welsh Government now is very, very welcome. We've used the funding from BS1 to implement a bus service from Abercanet to town, and hopefully now with this extra funding coming forward, it will keep this transportation route going till 2022. Through the report, I hope everybody's read it, it does say about the future of transport, and I think we as an administration share Welsh Government's vision for future transportation, public transportation through Wales. We've got a new bus station coming in a few months, and we want to make sure that public transport is right at the forefront of our ambition and aspirations for Merthyr Tydfil. So if I go to the recommendations, Chair, 2.1 and 2.2, The principles of the BS2 agreement, Appendix 2, to secure conditional financial support for the bus sector and to establish a relationship with the regional lead authority and signatory that ensures that the ongoing emergency funding meets the authority's priorities and is delivered on its behalf be approved. A call for a further report on bus reform proposals relating to the future management of bus services in Wales be approved. I so move, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Do I have a seconder for that, please?
I second that, Chair, and in seconding, I'd just like to support Councillor Thomas and what he's saying there. The bus sector, as for the rail sector at the moment, I've had a dire time of it trying to operate on 5% of what they previously operated on. In anybody's book and anybody's business model, that is completely unsustainable. And I think what this is a nod to is we can't isolate our communities. The question is far bigger here. And I think it's a great report. Congratulate Councillor Thomas for bringing it. It's a major step forward in the transport infrastructure of the town.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions, colleagues, in relation to this report?
No,
Any observations? No? Okay, therefore we'll take a... Oh, Councillor Thomas. Oh, you were very late then, Councillor Thomas. You're very lucky I saw that go up.
Well, I knew, Chair, if I spoke first, it would end the debate, so I thought I had to wait right to the end. No, I'd like to thank the officers for bringing this report. We've got a very special team in transport. We brought a new member in as well, Alan Evans, who was right at the, sitting on the regional table, or the national table, I should say, debating these transport proposals. So, for the residents of Merthyr Tydfil, we've got a seat at the table. So, so people can be confident that we've got, it's been the smallest authority, but we've got quite a large say in what goes on with public transport in Wales.
Okay. Very pertinent points, Councillor Thomas, and I echo those points. So thank you for that. Therefore, now, if nobody else wishes to speak, we will go to the vote. So would all councillors in agreement with the recommendations please raise their hand on the screen? Okay.
And that's carried, Chair.
Lovely. Thank you very much, colleagues. Just bear with me as I go on to the next agenda item. Okay, we're on to agenda item number 5, and that is the Fit Cymru Energy Efficiency Framework, approval of the loan and entering into a works contract. And I believe the Councillor David Hughes is going to take this report for us.
That's correct, Chair. Summary report is found in 1.1 to 1.5. The report seeks to approve the access of external funding and enter into works contract to undertake a programme of energy conservation and renewable works to incorporate buildings and schools by utilising the provision of the Refit Cymru Energy Efficient Framework. Refit Cymru is the Welsh Government promoted scheme and aims to accelerate the energy efficiency improvement to all public sector buildings in Wales. The scheme provides commercial model for the public bodies to implement the energy efficiency and renewables to the building and achieve substantial guaranteed energy savings and reduction in carbon emissions. Amesco have carried out over 50 investment grade energy audits, 31 of Merthyr Tydfil's properties. These audits have led to the production of the MTCBC investment grade proposal, IGP. Document detailing the proposed energy conservation measures, CAPEX, payback and energy carbon savings. The refit project is estimated to save 135,400 and 251 tonnes of carbon per annum, with a payback of 8.5 years at a cost of 1.145 million. On top of the saving, the buildings will also benefit from an improved learning and working environment, reduced maintenance costs, and increased comfort conditions for occupants. The recommendations are found in 2.1 to 2.3. for the installation of the energy conservation measures detailed in the Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council investment grade proposals, combined 8.5-year payback of 1.145 million capex to be approved. The utilisation of SAREC interest-free loan to pay for the installation of the energy conservation measures as per IGP be approved, and entering into the work contract with Amicus to install the energy conservation measures to Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council buildings as per investment grade proposal to be approved. I therefore move.
Well, thank you, Councillor Hughes, and thank you for that overview as well, and for those recommendations. Do I have a seconder to those recommendations, please?
I'll second that, Chair. And in seconding, I'd just like to say that it's another great report being brought by David here, and written by Ian Goldsworthy. And as with the previous officer mentioned by Geraint Allen Evans, we're very lucky to have Ian. I think Ian will now be playing a far greater role in our business into the future through the Carbon Management Board. Very lucky to have him. Excellent report. Congratulate David and congratulate Ian for bringing it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Barry, for that. In that case, colleagues, it has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions in relation to the report?
No, Chair.
No. Are there any comments in relation to the report? Okay, therefore we'll move to the vote then, please. Would councillors in agreement with the recommendations please raise their hand on the screen?
Not carried, Chair.
Thank you, Monitoring Officer. Colleagues, can I just remind you, if you aren't speaking, if you could just mute your mic because I can hear a bit of feedback, if that's okay. Thank you. Okay. We're going to move on to agenda item number 6, and that is the report in relation to the 3 to 16 voluntary aided schools and, of course, the site consultation. Just for today's meeting, my colleague is going to take this report for me. However, when we come to comments, I will make some comments on the report. So thank you. I need my colleague to move this report, please. And Councillor Geraint Thomas, I believe it's you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think it's a great report that's been brought forward here today by the Education Department and the Neighbourhood Services Department, the Estates Department. I think I'm led to believe that this is the biggest building project the Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council has done in a long, long time, and it's an exciting project. It's going to be a 21st century school with 21st century sports facilities and learning facilities for the children of Merthyr Tydfil and the region. So I'm not going to go into the report in depth because I know Lisa wants to speak in it and other people want to speak in it as well. So if I go through the summary and the recommendations, the purpose of the report is to provide an update regarding the 3 to 16 voluntary aided school site consultation outcomes and to seek approval for the new school build to progress the design development on the recommended option. So if I go straight to the recommendations in 2.1, the land south of the Greenie, west of Gallanachov Road, be selected as the site for purpose of building the new 3 to 16 school be approved. 2.2, option A as identified within the 3 to 16 consultation pack, Appendix 1, design development subject to the pending appointment of a successfully attended contractor is progressed. 2.3, design development be undertaken with all relevant stakeholders, particularly to address concerns identified through the consultation exercise and others that may emerge through ongoing engagement and dialogue be undertaken. 2.4, use of the whole current Upper Bishop Headley High School site as a contingent option to supplement option A if required be retained. And that's it. So I move those, please, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Do I have a seconder to that report, please?
I second that, Chair. But
Thank
I
you,
would like to just point out that I'm glad point 2.3 is in this development because in this recommendation, because we've got to take into account what the residents say, you know, any safety issues. That's marvellous. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. It's been moved and seconded. Colleagues, are there any questions in relation to the report? Councillor Chris Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I've got 4 questions, but before I start my questions, I do want to commend and thank the officers for the engagement, particularly to Anthony Lewis in our schools department, obviously the report author, and to Chris Jones in property services, in neighbourhood services, for the engagement with cabinet members and ward councillors leading up to this, and obviously our opportunity to have some input into shaping the consultation. Really grateful for that, and I just wanted to put that on record. So I've got 2 questions that relate, and they all relate to the report. 2 around kind of consultation and engagement, and then 2 more technical questions. So I'll start with my technical questions, and I can see that we have our engineering manager and our traffic management engineer on the call, so hopefully they might be able to assist in some of the questions that I've got. But my first question relates to a section of the report that talks about traffic impact. And my question is, what is the latest position and information regarding the traffic impact and the associated traffic impact assessment following the concerns and issues that are raised at section 6.9 of the report? Because obviously, as Councillor Hughes has alluded to, this will be integral to the development of the scheme. So I'd like an update on where we are with that, and also as we've got our officers on the call, I'd like to know, in the absence of a traffic impact assessment by the current WS Atkins, who are working on behalf of the council, the views of our engineering manager and traffic management engineer of the potential impacts of this scheme in this area, bearing in mind this is on the dangerous hill in and around that area, how they feel that at this point, and I appreciate we're going to have the impact assessment at some point, but their views on this at this point in time, please, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Davis. Colleagues, would you like to come in and just address some of those questions Councillor Davis has put to us, please?
Yes, we have to wait really for the impact assessment, and we can have a good look at that and see what comes out of it. But I think from some early discussions that we've had, you know, there will be scope on the opposite side, on the opposite site, for various potential drop-off facilities or car park. So I think from sort of early thoughts are, you know, that there will be options available to make sure that obviously you know, road safety is paramount really for children and parents. But you know, we can't really go into any detail until we get that traffic assessment.
Okay, thank you, Cadwyn.
And Councillor Mitten, I wonder when we might be in a position where we will receive the traffic impact assessment from Atkins, the you know, contractors.
Yeah, Cadwyn, any ideas when we're likely to receive that, or Chris?
I think Chris will have to comment on that, I think.
Chris Jones, any idea? Thanks,
So,
Chris.
yes, it's been commissioned by them. We are waiting for them, but also this will now be coming into the design. So if the contractor is approved later on, it'll be coming into his design as well. We have got a meeting with Carwyn, I think it's for next Friday, to discuss things like this, to just try and sort out things like this and get things bottomed out. We know this is paramount, and safety, obviously pupils, staff, everyone's safety on that road is paramount, and it's going to be a major consideration at this stage to get something that works.
Okay, thank you, Chris. And Councillor Davis, I'm sure we'll get those reports to you as a ward member, not only as a cabinet member, but as a ward member as well, as quickly as we can.
Yeah, as soon as we receive them, obviously get copies.
Thank you.
No, that's great. Thank you very much. My second question then is 6.21 of the report talks about the community access and management of facilities. And obviously for me, obviously in regards to the proposed 3G or 4G pitch. At what point will a community use agreement with any charging policy be developed, consulted and agreed upon? Obviously, part of the options, option A, is to relinquish the greeny play-in fields or part of the play-in fields to allow the school to be built. And obviously, a improved play-in facility will be incorporated as part of the school build development, and there's talk in the report about community use and community access. Obviously, quite clear the management of the facilities will be with the school, but obviously for me, it's about at what stage will we start talking about that community use and charging policy. So we're very clear, and we learned from previous school build projects where perhaps that hasn't been dealt with, and it's been dealt with after fact, and then obviously that's led to more difficulties.
Thank you, Chris. I will make reference to that when I come to my comments, but Chris Jones, I'm not sure if this comes under your remit again. You know, I know it is conversations we've had previously regarding community support and community schools and that engagement, but would anybody like to answer Chris on that?
Or if Anthony is there, maybe.
Can I come
Oh,
in?
Anthony. Oh, bless. I forgot about my Anthony. Where is he?
I'm here somewhere.
There he is.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, with regards to that, it's clearly critical. The community asset is currently part of the open space strategy, and for us to be able to include it within the bill proposals, we would need to ensure there's sufficient compensation, and we're seeking to achieve that through enhanced use of the facility. So we need to ensure that's factored into the design development proposals, really. To ensure that before we go to a final decision around progressing with the build, because as Chris has said, there'll be a report coming as part of the exempt reports to this cabinet today. That's around stage 1 of the contract. Once we have the solutions around that, the idea would be to come back towards the end of the calendar year with proposals to move to stage 2, which would be the construction stage. So over this next 12 months, we need to have that clarity. That
Have we lost Anthony there? Was it just me? Perhaps
in
I
terms
have
of the investment
lost.
objectives.
Okay.
Sorry, I lost you then.
Sorry,
in terms of the investment objectives with regards to the Welsh Government business case, will be one of those will need to be around community use and ensuring that the beneficiaries to the school include the community, particularly around this asset, but also around the wider use of the school. So it'll be safeguarded within the proposals. The detail itself then will need to come beyond that once we've got the detailed project team of stakeholders from the community and the schools around the table. We need to work through the detail, but that'll have to be agreed, certainly in terms of in principle as a community use agreement before the school is occupied. So that's what we'll be seeking to achieve, to ensure that the successful delivery of this as a community asset is firmly part of the project design and proposals.
Thank you, Anthony. Councillor Davies?
Yeah, I'll put my next 2 questions together because obviously they relate to stakeholders. So my first bit is 2.3 of the recommendations talks about design development be undertaken with all relevant stakeholders. And I just wanted to ask and be clear that this includes and is going to include the residents directly affected by this, and request that there's some interaction. I know up until now we've done the community consultation, Anthony, and you and I have chatted about, you know, we're in difficult times with COVID, but I would want to see how we can look at some online, either Microsoft Teams or Zoom engagement with the residents to get those who are most affected by this. I'm not talking about the wider public, but certainly the people who are bordering on Galanacha Road, who are going to live behind this proposed development, that we do some more intensive engagement with them. So that's my question. Are they going to be stakeholders and how we can engage? And then my next question is, you've done a fantastic analysis of the consultation, and I'm really grateful for you to that. But how will we now ensure we feed back to the residents directly living by the proposed development, the results and the outcome of that consultation? And that could be simply sharing a copy of this report with them today, but I want to keep that engagement with them if we can. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councillor Davis. Anthony, did you just want to give reassurances there? Because I know it's something that we've spoken about,
Yeah.
but I just don't know if you wanted to just add a little bit there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chair. So with regards to the second part, I know that following Cabinet today, Sue wants us to have discussions now by the end of the week to agree some sort of newsletter format that could be sent out to residents and other stakeholders, so they're kept involved and kept informed with regards to the decisions that have been taken and the proposed next steps, which would include the need to keep them engaged regarding design development, so that they can have opportunity to discuss their concerns, etc. And we would look then to take that forward in terms of the project managers we've appointed for this. I'm very keen that once we've appointed the contractor, if that's agreed by Cabinet this afternoon, that we would then have discussions next week to start to consider how we involve stakeholders, particularly the residents, as well as the schools, to ensure that they have appropriate representation within any stakeholder group. And we will have conversations then around how that's facilitated, what medium that would take, and whether or not there's opportunities there for the sort of things you're suggesting that you've raised previously, such as Microsoft Teams or Zoom, etc. So we will be having those discussions, and it's something we'll be looking then for our project managers working with Chris and his team, with ourselves and the contractors, to be able to take forward then together to ensure all stakeholders have sufficient engagement and have their say, and are being factored into the solutions that will need to come out of those deliberations.
Thank you, Anthony, so much for that reply. Colleagues, are there any other additional questions? No? Okay. Are there any comments in relation to this report? I'm going to put my own hand up there as the chair, so I'm going to officially put my hand up there and jump in before my colleague Chris Davis, if you may allow me to, Councillor Davis.
Absolutely, Councillor Mitten, yeah.
Thank you. Well, firstly, thank you for taking that report on my behalf today. What I would like to do is just give some reassurance, and firstly, thank my colleagues and those who aren't in this virtual room, really, for the cross-portfolio work that we've done. And just to reiterate the point about community schools and engagements really with the community as well, Sue has been very vocal about doing this, and Anthony has supported me on that, but also Councillor Geraint Thomas, Chris Long and Ryan Barry, etc., from Alan's portfolio as well. They've been very supportive in making sure that any schools that we're working with, we do have this strong community engagement as well, and taking that forward, so everybody sees that school and that community as one. So just to reiterate that. Sue was my Chief Education Officer as well from the onset with regards to participation, as asked the residents that are involved, Councillor Davis, so just to reassure you there, and of course ward members as well. But also, again, it's important for me to say that Sue and I had a meeting with various representatives from our faith school governing bodies and parent representatives as well, so it really captured a lot of people's views as well, and we are keeping them in the loop with regards to how this is actually moving forward. So I just wanted to reiterate that, and certainly thank officers and of course my Chief Education Officer for bringing this report today, and I'm looking forward to this developing for those young people in Merthyr Tydfil. Thank you for that. Councillor Chris Davis, and then Councillor Geraint Thomas, I will come to you.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted again to reiterate my thanks to the officers for their engagement to date, and obviously for this. It is an excellent report. It's a very detailed report. Anthony, you've done you spent a lot of time on the analysis, and really grateful for that. And that's why I'm keen that we share that with residents, because consultation and engagement, I don't want people to think this is a done deal, and you've invested time, you put a great booklet together, and I think we need to feed that back to the residents. So I wanted to commend you for that. I want to say that the work on the traffic impact assessment is key, really, I think, for me, to the viability of this project. Road safety and actually the pollution that falls out of that. This is a very denselated area, in that we've got Gwenfarren Primary School already. We've just done a road safety scheme that got delayed, and we saw the impacts of that. And I felt the impact of that as a local ward member in terms of managing that and working with the school. I'm a governor there as well, working with the engineering department as a partnership to manage some of the community expectations. But this impact on the local road network and the ability for that to cope and manage is a concern of mine. And I really do look forward and wait to see that traffic impact assessment. For me, the community use of the facilities and development of the terms of reference for the community use and that charging policy needs to be done sooner rather than later. I've got to sell this potentially to the residents in my ward. We are a very, very, again, heavily populated area with housing. We don't have a lot of green space. I do see the 4G pitch as an investment into the community. It's going to be better than what's there now. It'll be well drained, it'll be well lit, it'll be state-of-the-art facility, but I just need to be sure and convinced that we nail down the community use of that facility and any charging implications now, not when it opens, because it's too late then. We have to learn from Penydre in terms of the sports lot. We have to learn from Cymru Dun and all of those other things, Ilgerig. So I want that to be seriously sorted when we're able to. And I think then really the consideration of the strengthened pupil and public road safety measures, as I've said, in point 6.93 of the report, there's talk of obviously costing in a pedestrian bridge. Well, that's how seriously we need to talk about. It's a death trap. It's not called the Dangerous Hill for nothing. It's a main thoroughfare artery from Merthyr Tydfil town centre up into Gallanach. And actually all of the buses that run the network in Merthyr Tydfil travel that stretch of road to go back to the depot. The depot is located in Pant, and we need to make sure that we get this right and we explore the important aspects of keeping our pupils safe at this design option stage. Councillor Mitten, I do support this. It's for the 21st century facilities and education of our young people, but obviously you can understand from me, obviously this is in my ward, and obviously part of my role is to be that voice and representative of the people. But this is a great project. As Councillor Thomas said, this is one of the biggest projects that we would have done under the umbrella 21st century schools. We've just got to get this right. Thank you very much for giving me the floor and allowing me to speak.
Welcome, Councillor Davis, and your comments are noted as always, so thank you for that. Councillor Geiring-Thomas.
Yeah, just by summing up really, Chair, I think from this administration's point of view, investment into education is very important and into community use. There's nothing bigger for us than our young children. There's nothing more important to us than our young children and making sure they have, 21st century facilities to learn and play, right? That's important, learn and play. We also believe that there should be community assets. That's very important to us as well. So the whole of the Gallanach and the Gurnas community and the general community of Merthyr Tydfil will have access to that site for sport and recreation uses. So just want to make that clear, that's part of our strategy and our aspirations.
Yes, thank you. Very, very well put, Councillor Thomas, and thank you for that. I can see that nobody else wishes to talk. Therefore, colleagues, I will now move to the vote. I'm going to do it slightly different this time around, if you will permit me to. And first of all, I'm going to ask, are there any colleagues who are not in agreement to this report going forward? No. OK. Are there any colleagues that wish to abstain? Thank you, Councillor Davis. That is noted. You can put your hand down now, please. And are there any colleagues, would all colleagues in favour of this recommendation please show their hand?
That's carried.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Chair. Monitoring Officer. I nearly did it. OK, bear with me as we just move on to the next.
Sorry, Councillor Mitten, I just wondered whether I could indulge the monitoring officer and just ask if my abstention could be recorded in the minutes.
Councillor Davis, we are currently 45 minutes into a meeting which is already really going slowly when we have an awful long way to go. I'm happy to discuss that with you later, but as this meeting is all recorded, everything is being recorded. So thanks, if we can just carry on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and the Chair very politely just sent a little nudge in a way with your colleagues regarding the number of items that are left, monitoring officer, just to reassure you. Okay, agenda item number 7, Transforming Towns Programme Funding for Merthyr Tydfil Transforming Towns Phase 1. Councillor Geraint Thomas, you're going to take this report for me.
Noted, Chair, and I'm on the clock by the sound of things. So we'll go through the summary of the report. The placemaking plan was endorsed by full council at the council committee meeting on the 12th of September 2020. In January 2020, Deputy Minister of Housing and Local Government Hannah Blythen announced the Transforming Towns package. The Transforming Towns package provided Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council with the opportunity to secure funding for the delivery of projects linked to the placemaking plan. A series of applications will be submitted, and when projects develop in line with the aims and objectives of the placemaking plan and the funding secured to date, outlined in this report, is for the Phase 1 of the Merthyr Tydfil Transforming Towns programme. The application to the Welsh Government for the Merthyr Tydfil Transforming Towns Phase 1 included a funding request for the redevelopment of the former Holefields building, which is one of the most beautiful buildings in Merthyr Tydfil, the redevelopment of Marsh House, and for a town centre and a Merthyr Tydfil Town Centre programme manager. And I think that's very important with the master planning process coming through. We've also got funding as well, development funding, to look into what we could do with the Theatre Royal and Jols. So again, everyone can see that Merthyr Tydfil hasn't been sleeping through the pandemic or sleeping through the Christmas period. Work is always going on into transforming Merthyr into a better place to live. So if I go straight to the recommendations of 2.1, the award of funding for Transforming Towns programme for Merthyr Tydfil, Transforming Towns Phase 1, be approved, Chair. I so move.
Thank you for that, Councillor Geraint Thomas, and thank you for the speed at which you brought that report to us. It is noted. I hope my other colleagues note that. I do appreciate that as Chair today. Can I ask who's seconding this report, please?
Second that, Councillor Mitten, without comment, as we got to get on.
Well, thank you, Councillor Barry. I do appreciate it, and I'm sure others will as well. Colleagues, are there any questions in relation to this report? Okay, there are none. Therefore, we'll move straight to comments. Are there any comments in relation to this report?
No, Chair.
Very good report, Councillor Thomas. Let's not, wave away from that. We do appreciate it and appreciate how we've responded to that. I don't want Alan giving us a row at all. Thank you ever so much. If there are no further comments, let's move straight to the vote then. Would all councillors in agreement with the recommendations please raise their hand? Thank you. That item is carried. Thank you ever so much. Okay, bear with me. I shall do this as quick as I can. Agenda item number 8. And that is the amendment of an existing order, Upper High Street, Merthyr Tydfil. And Councillor Thomas, again, I believe you're taking us through this report.
Yes, Chair. It's an amendment of the existing order, Upper High Street. The section of Upper High Street indicated on the plan below was converted to a bridleway in 1975 under the Town and Country Planning Act. The existing order allows for exemptions for blue badge holders. In order to remove these exemptions and allow for a traffic-free high street, Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council must apply to Welsh Government under Section 249 of the Town and Country Planning Act 1990. This would complement the existing order on Lower High Street made in 1995 and allow for the main stretch within the town centre to be pedestrianised. I think due to COVID and any threats from terrorism that the country's had in the past, I think we've got to be very, very careful and approve this. If we go through the recommendations, Chair, in 2.1, the necessary consultation be undertaken with stakeholders and submission of an application under Section 249 of the Town and Country Planning Act 1990 to the Welsh Government be amended to amend the bridleway in Upper High Street as identified on the plan attached below. Sorry, I am going to open it. So I so move, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. Well, thank you, Councillor Thomas, and thank you, Councillor Barry, and at such speed as well. Thank you ever so much. Any questions on this report? No. Any comments on this report? No, I see none. Therefore, we shall move straight to the vote. Would all councillors in agreement please raise their hand? Councillor Thomas?
That's
Councillor, yeah, okay, lovely. Thank you for that. Appreciate the speed as well. Well done. Okay, agenda item number 9 is the school balances 2019-2021. I will make a very quick comment in this after it's been moved and seconded. And which of my colleagues is moving this for me? I believe it's Councillor Chris Davis.
It is me. I'm sure people will be holding their hands like that with me taking the report now. Whilst I welcome the fact we have full council at 5:30, what I'm really encouraged about today is that we have an opportunity to have debate and discussion, because that's what democracy and that's what being an elected member is all about. But Councillor Mitton, I'll move on to the summary of your report then on school balances. Obviously, the purpose of the report is to provide an update in respect to the school balances for 1920, and obviously to outline the financial risk and sustainability of school budgets moving forward in line with the council's medium-term financial plan, and obviously the schools department financial plan for 2020-2023. So 1.2 of the report outlines the just over 1.5 million of school balances, which is 3.9% of the school formula. Although schools department have calculated that the projected balance at the 31st is going to be close on 847,000 or just over. Obviously, within the reduced balances, there are 4 schools currently that are planning deficit budgets in the current year, and these have submitted, obviously, for licence deficit recovery plans to bring these budgets back into balance. However, more schools are at risk of requiring a deficit budget in 2021, 2022, 22-23, and the total number of schools categorised as either red or amber is currently 11 schools. So the next steps have been identified to continue to monitor, challenge and support schools, which I know that you do with your officers at School Budget Forum and obviously through Scrutiny Committee, Councillor Mitton, in terms of looking at managing and planning towards their financial sustainability, with a particular focus on schools obviously in the red and amber category, raising cause for concern around finance. So I'll quickly move to the recommendations at 2.1, that the financial categorisation of schools as shown in Appendix 1 be approved, and I so move.
Thank you for that, Councillor Davis. Who's seconding that for me?
Barry, Chair.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions, colleagues? No, any comments? Please indulge me for 1 second. Councillor Andrew Barry, do you mind if I jump in first?
Carry on, Chair.
Thank you ever so much. I just want to reiterate that, Councillor Davis, thank you again for taking that report for me. Just want to reiterate one thing to you. Obviously, you did mention that myself and Sue, my Chief Education Officer, attend a schools budget forum. And of course, just to remind you, and I'm sure you don't need reminding, but you do also hold us to account in budget board as well, where Sue and I are present. So, you know, these are opportunities to certainly scrutinise these school balances now and moving forward. And as you know, I do have a close working relationship with the chair of the LASKIP committee, scrutiny committee as well. Councillor Harvey Jones and I often discuss this, and we did catch up on this report. And obviously, I've asked that Councillor Jones, you know, takes a look at the report and discusses that with his scrutiny panel moving forward as well. So I just wanted to reiterate that whilst I had the opportunity. Councillor Andrew Barry.
Yeah, just to reiterate what you said there, really, Chair, in terms of it is a worrying trajectory that those school balances are on. We do take those finances very, very seriously, as you know. I'm encouraged, School Budget Forum, I'm encouraged by the quality of chair that we have within LASKIP to do a fine job of scrutinising those figures. And we will be looking to Budget Board for some reassurance from those areas to make sure that those areas are being monitored and that we do bring them back in the appropriate direction in the future. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councillor Barry. Okay, colleagues, I can see that nobody else wants to comment, therefore I'll move straight to the vote. Would all councillors in agreement with the recommendations please raise their hand?
That's carried, Chair.
Thank you, Monitoring Officer. Okay, colleagues, straight on to agenda item number 10. That is the Swan Street area. It is the proposed changes to the traffic regulation orders associated with the new bus station. Councillor David Hughes, I believe you're taking this report.
That's right, Chair. I won't read out the whole summary of the report. We'll be here all night. And we'll be in
much
to counter.
Appreciated, Councillor Hughes. Noted and appreciated.
Yeah, we go for the summary report is found in 1.1 to 1.8 is for council to authorise the intention of giving public notice informing of the County Borough Council's intention to make the Parliament Traffic Regulation Order under Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984 for various roads near Swan Street, areas associated with the new bus station. In the event of no objections, the orders are made. I won't read out every summary, just to say the order for the bus, in order for the bus is to exit the bus station without delay onto the street parking. Further waiting and loading restrictions are required along Swan Street to its junction with Avenue de Clichy. I go to the recommendations because I'm sure you've all read the report. The recommendations are found in 2.1 to 2.3. The giving of the public notice of the County Borough Council's intention to make a permanent traffic regulation order under the Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984, the effect of which is detailed in the schedule at Appendix 2, be approved. The making of the permanent order in the event of no objections be received, be approved. The presentation of a report to the appropriate committee for consideration as soon as practicable. If no objections are received, be approved. I therefore move.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you ever so much. Both, any questions on that report? No. Okay, any comments on that report? No. Okay, therefore we'll move straight to the vote then, please. All those in favour of the recommendations, if you can please show your hand.
That's carried.
Thank you. And we'll move straight on to agenda item number 11. Hold that again, Councillor David Hughes. I like that approach. So we'll go straight into that report, which is various road time rodding, proposed one-way driving restriction and 20-mile-per-hour zone traffic regulation order. I'm coming straight back to you.
Chair, can I jump in a second?
Yes.
Monitoring officer, just to check, I live in Tyne. Have I got to declare you?
No. No, this isn't any benefit to you, as far as I can see. I think this one should be safe. Okay.
I hope it will be benefit of him once we do it. Yeah, the summary report is 1.1 to 1.4, 1.7, sorry, for council to authorise that the subject to statutory consultation with the emergence of services and other representative user groups, public notice be given to the County Borough Council's intention to make a permanent one-way and a 20 miles an hour traffic regulation order under the Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984 for various roads in Tyne Rodin, and in the event of no objection, the order be made. I won't read any more because I'm sure you all read it again. I go to recommendations. Given the public notice subject to statutory consultation with the emergency services and other representative user groups, the County Borough Council's intention to make a permanent traffic regulation order under the Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984, the effect of which is detailed in schedule and Appendix 2 be approved. The making of the permanent order in the event of no objections be received, be approved. If objections are received, the presentation of the report to the appropriate committee for consideration as soon as practicable be approved. I therefore move.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Seconder, please.
I second that, Chair, and in doing so, I think it's a great report, you know, making the streets of Tyne safer for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Colleagues, are there any questions in relation to this report? No. Any observations in relation to this report? No. Okay, we'll go straight to the vote then, please. All those in favour of the recommendations, please raise your hand.
That's carried, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 12, which is the Winter Protection Plan 2020-21. And Councillor Chris Davis, I believe you're taking this report.
I am, Chair. Thank you very much. I think this is quite an important report bearing in mind where we are with the increasing levels of COVID-19, both in our communities and in our hospital, acute and primary care settings. We're certainly not out of the woods, although we have, a silver lining in terms of the vaccine. That's going to take some time. So this is quite a key report. And obviously it's a requirement for us to contribute to the development of the winter plan in with our partners at Cwmtaf Health Board during the winter period. Obviously, this report seeks to outline the areas of responsibility placed on us as a council to support this process. And Lisa Curtis-Jones and our heads of service work really, really well. There's been a fantastic partnership between the council and the health board, delivering on keeping our residents safe, the work we've done on COVID-19 planning, the mass testing, and all of these things that help and contribute towards winter protection and winter planning arrangements for our residents here in Merthyr Tydfil. The effectiveness of the plan obviously will be monitored through the planned monthly winter pressures group and the unscheduled care meetings, and ultimately by the regional partnership board and this council as well through our scrutiny process. I just wanted to draw members' attention to some of the great work, Councillor Mitten, that is going on, funded through Transformation, through the Stay Well at Home initiative, which is a proportionate assessment. When somebody goes into hospital, they have an assessment by a multi-agency team to see if those needs can be met without someone having to take up a lengthy stay in A&E or in a medical admissions unit, and whether their needs can be met by a team and a package of care, getting them back home as quickly as possible. It's been a fantastic initiative across Cwmtaf Morgannwg, and something we're really proud to celebrate. I know we have a presentation this evening from Paul Mears, the Chief Executive of the University Health Board, coming to full council, and I'm sure it's one of the things he'll talk about. And I'm keen that we do a members workshop sometime later this year with members on the work of the Transformation and Integrated Care Fund, which is an integral part of winter protection and care planning between the partners for the residents of Merthyr Tydfil. So I'll move to the recommendations at 2.1 and 2.2. The content of the report for the winter protection plan be noted, and the winter protection plan be endorsed by Cabinet this afternoon. And in doing so, I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Do I have a seconder?
Chair.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, any questions? Any comments?
No, Chair. Oh,
Councillor Geraint-Thomas.
Yeah, just briefly, Chair. Just to say, I totally support this report coming to Cabinet today. Who could remember a winter like this? And it is going to be one like we've never seen before. I don't think. It's totally new to us, a new world we're going into. Hopefully, like Chris said, the vaccines of the year and protects our older people. But yeah, totally support it, and we've really got to get behind it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas, and that's noted. Colleagues, I'm going to move straight to the vote then, and all those in favour of the recommendations, please raise your hand.
And that's carried, Chair.
Thank you. I'll move straight on to agenda item number 13. It's the annual report for social services in relation to complaints, representations and compliments 2019-2020. Councillor Chris Davis.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm really delighted to bring this report in its revamped format to Cabinet this afternoon. An amazing amount of work has been done by our complaints team. And when you consider, the volume of corporate complaints, social services complaints and others, we've got a very, very small team of I think, one complaints officer and an admin assistant. They currently sit within the legal department with Simon Jones line managing them. But this report has already taken its journey through scrutiny committee, and it was really applauded and really well received. So I'm absolutely delighted to be bringing it. Obviously, it's a requirement for local authorities under the Social Services Complaints Procedures Wales Regulations 2014, obviously, to have a complaints representation and compliments policy and procedure. So this is a legal requirement. This report and the appendix, which I really would encourage you to read, but a bedtime reading, because it's really well put together. It's really fantastic complaint and compliment report. Obviously highlights the key points contained in the annual social services complaints and compliments report, which is obviously attached. So basically, Councillor Mitten, I recommend that the content of this report be noted, and in doing so, I move this and propose it to Cabinet.
Thank you, Chris Davis. Seconder, please.
I'll second that, Councillor Mitten, and just if I may say, an excellent report. And we've complimented other officers here today, and I think we should be complimenting Gaynor Lewis and her efforts there. She absolutely gets the value of the role she holds, and she executes it superbly. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councillor Barry. Colleagues, any questions in relation to this item? No. Are there any observations or comments in relation to this item? Councillor Geraint-Thomas.
Yes, no, I think yeah, Gaynor needs you know, some plaudits here. It's a great piece of work. It's a difficult job to do. So I'll have a word with Sergeant Lewis tonight to pour her a big glass of wine.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. I'm sure Gaynor will appreciate that, knowing Gaynor. Okay, thank you for that. I'll move straight to the vote then, please. Can I ask that all those in favour of the recommendations, please show your virtual hand.
That's carried, Chair.
Thank you for that. Colleagues, the next items 14 and 15 are of course information reports and submitted for information only. So agenda item number 14 and agenda item number 15. Therefore, I shall move straight on to agenda item number 16, which is any other business deemed urgent by myself. Today, I have no other urgent business at the moment. So what I need to do next is move on to an exempt item, and therefore call for somebody to move a section 100, please.
Move section 100, Chair.
Seconded.
I second, Chair.
Okay, and Monitoring Officer, do we take a vote on that, please?
Yeah, if everybody could just indicate that they agree.
Yeah.
That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So can I ask that anybody who's in the public area of this meeting, please now leaves the meeting, and I'll just give you a minute to do that before we go on to the exempt item.